Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, what are the person on your mind's thoughts and feelings about you and the connection right now? There are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Lapis Lazuli, along with the Firefly card. Group 2 is the Clear Quartz, along with the Crow card. And group 3 is the Purple Fluorite, along with the Deer card. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection, and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the cards and the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Lapis Lazuli, along with the Firefly card. So to channel some introductory energies here as far as the person on your mind's thoughts and feelings about you and the state of the connection, they are definitely drawn to you like a moth to the flame. They may be considering you their twin flame. If they are in the spiritual community themselves, are familiar with such terms, they may be considering you their soulmate, or at the very least, labels aside that this is a very significant connection that, despite their best efforts, keeps pulling them in, drawing them in closer. This could be somebody who's attempted to put the brakes on and sort of ground down into material reality, trying not to get ahead of themselves, not to sort of answer this call to just sort of lunge towards you and experience everything that this connection has to offer. But they may have been very methodical or deliberate in sort of getting to know you. A bit of kind of guardedness coming through here as far as revealing too much about themselves too quickly, a fear of that overwhelming the potential between the two of you. That may have been the case in relationships in their past, and so they're trying a different approach with you. If this is a situation where it's been kind of a back and forth, and this is someone who has returned and you're in the process of starting to rebuild a bridge between the two of you, then it feels like they are, again, kind of trying to put the brakes on at this point in time. There's a lot more that they want to reveal to you than has been made known at this point. And they're guided by almost like their higher self or a bigger instinct within that just says, as much as you are compelled in this person's direction, as much as you want to soak up and saturate yourself in all that this connection has to offer, the best course of action forward is to take more of a slow stance, to just sort of bask in the experience of each little step, each little experience with one another. A sense of almost, the word gluttonous is coming through, like they just can't get enough of your energy. They can't get enough of, conversing with you and spending time around you. And there's such a hunger for more that might be something you're almost sort of sensing very subtly in your interactions with one another. A lot of palpable sort of vibrational tension, energetic tension between the two of you that may be almost kind of masked by a bit of you sensing that this person is holding back, or this feeling of kind of confusion on your part as far as like, I sense all this chemistry and yet they're very slow to act, or they seem to be holding themselves back or holding something back. This may be something where you've needed to kind of back off or pause as you are perhaps perceiving some degree of a potential red flag in the situation. But with these introductory energies, it feels that it's quite the opposite. Rather than something very ominous that they're holding back, it's a deep desire to just plunge headlong into this situation, but feeling very much in fear of getting swept up by the nature of these feelings, and wanting to kind of take a methodical approach to really do things right in this situation, because they see you as a very high vibrational being. They see a lot of long-term potential in this connection. There's a desire to want to kind of follow you into the future, into the next stage and step of getting to know one another, deepening your connection with one another. A lot of inspiration that they get, insight that they get, even just on a personal level, romance aside, they are very much kind of inspired by you, awestruck by you, and kind of how you carry yourself, what they know about you and your backstory and struggles that you've been through to kind of become this version of yourself, or through some kind of measure of darkness that you've been through, you keep sort of becoming the light within these situations or within yourself, or you keep sort of striving toward these better possibilities rather than sort of hardening your heart and being very defeated maybe about difficulties in love or difficulties in life. You sort of charge forward, guided by this deeper sense that there is something more out there. And so even on a personal level, it feels like this person is very much inspired to sort of follow in the direction that you are leading at this point in time. So I'm going to get a few more out of this Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle to start with, to dig a little bit deeper into their thoughts and feelings about you and the state of the connection right now. Okay, so we have spider, frog, panther, and earthworm. So this energy of the earthworm is all about regeneration, a recognition that you've been through some cycles in your life and you keep coming back stronger, wiser, more empowered. And it almost feels to be a challenging aspect and element about you, either through what they know of your personal story, what you've shared with one another up to this point in time, or something that they're just sensing energetically, that the bar is almost raised pretty high with this person. It's a pretty high standard for them to live up to. The sense that obviously if things don't work out, there's going to be some degree of like grief or mourning about that, but there's a certainty within them that you will survive. You will thrive on the other side of whatever does or does not happen in this connection. And that might be something that is very different from types of people that they have been used to encountering in their own romantic history, or maybe lately, or the last relationship they came out of, where there could have been a lot of codependency involved, a lot of kind of emotional manipulation, maybe even like financial manipulation for some people. And it's a sense of you really standing on your own 2 feet, really able to sort of like self-sustain, provide for yourself, an adaptability about you where, you're not going to linger too long in circumstances that are not feeding into you in the same way that you are feeding into them. And this is a quality that this person really admires about you. And it's helping them to really prioritize, sort of the importance as far as taking a very measured approach to continuing forth with you, developing this connection into something further. This also talks about the idea of reconciliation. So this might have been somebody that you've been kind of gone round and round with. They have resurfaced, or if you're still in a no contact with one another, they may be considering this, sort of popping back up into your world, into your reality. Things that they have come to understand about you through observation from afar, maybe on social media, people through the grapevine that have reported back to them, or even just something that they're sensing energetically is, since you parted ways with one another, you've elevated, you've regenerated, you've grown beyond kind of where you were last at, the version of you or a vibration of you. That energy of transformation is also embodied here in the frog, kind of this metamorphosis. You've dived very deeply into some troubled waters within yourself, either in terms of how you've dealt with this person, if it's been like a back and forth situation, or things as far as like your romantic past is concerned, or even just sort of personal shadow work that you've endeavored, that has kind of preceded this person coming into your world and into your reality. And they see you as somebody with a lot of emotional depth and the ability to really kind of practice what you preach. You implement these things, you take the pain that you've experienced, and you're very adept at crystallizing that into wisdom to sort of help further yourself in other goals in life, or in your own sort of personal growth and development. And then also there's this energy of kind of giving back, imparting that to others. They may see you as someone who's a really good listener, but also has very sage advice to give. Even if this is something that they know relatively little about you as far as life experiences specifically that have kind of led to this version of you, there's a sense that embedded within kind of feedback that you've given them or just opinions that are expressed, there's the sense of you've cultivated some degree of like personal strength and resilience that did not come easily. You've had to elicit some kind of ferocity about you with this panther spirit right here. That you sort of, you own your shadow. You've integrated that very beautifully into the light aspect of who you are. And you're able to sort of transition between these realms within yourself or, different kind of aspects of your life, maybe even sort of willingly going in to do some shadow work, not waiting for the tower moments, but sort of meeting these things ahead of the curve and almost sort of like this perception, a psychic ability about you that sort of signals, okay, it's time for metamorphosis. I've sort of outgrown the container in which I find myself, and rather than letting the experiences of the last cycle go to waste or to just sort of, again, harden the heart or sort of collapse into an energy of despair or darkness, they see you as somebody who's very proactive and kind of alchemizing a blessing out of even the most dire of circumstances. So this is something that is very personally inspirational to them, and it also raises the standard as far as what is possible in terms of reconciliation between the two of you, the future of this connection in the long term, whatever the stakes were before, whatever the standards and rules that applied either between the two of you, if this is someone you've been going back and forth with, or in terms of what they had been accustomed to experiencing in love and partnership with others. There's something different about this situation. They see you as somebody who, you're kind of lead by that example that it's not just going to be a completely relaxed relationship where people get complacent and people get lazy. You're somebody who's very kind of motivated to work toward larger goals, to sort of introspect and cultivate the work of art that is yourself. And so by default, sort of whoever you choose to give your heart to, whoever you partner up with, is going to have to bring kind of an equal willingness to the table of looking at themselves, looking at their patterns, not just sort of being complacent about things which are limiting them or holding them back or which they don't like about themselves, but they see you as someone, and maybe you've outwardly expressed this even to them, which has really been food for thought, that this is a connection, this is a potential relationship or a relationship that's starting to grow right now, where there's not just doors that are opened in terms of deep love that's possible, but this is also a pathway toward deep and profound personal transformation that you are offering them kind of by virtue of interfacing with you energetically, interacting with you on a face-to-face level, kind of the way your mind is geared, the way your emotions are geared, how you have sort of adapted yourself to be as an individual moving through this phase of your life at this particular point in time, that it's very clear to this individual that to kind of fight that sort of urge to change within themselves only kind of keeps them stuck. It keeps them limited. It keeps them kind of entangled in a very dense and kind of linear possibility and vibration that is not the full scope and extent of sort of what's possible with you. And they see you as somebody who is not afraid to sort of, you give people the opportunity to grow and evolve and expand, but it's almost like you're at a stage in your life where you're very discerning, you're very willing to cut things out or sort of restructure or recategorize your interpersonal relationships accordingly. You don't have time to really sort of sit and stagnate with other individuals. That might have been a version of you in previous cycles, or even a version of you previously dealing with this person, but you've evolved, you've grown, and so they're really being brought to task to sort of look at these components within themselves, which may be a bit of that kind of putting on the brakes and holding things back, not wanting to rush forth, because it's almost like, am I fully ready, not just for the doors of love to open more deeply in the situation, but kind of what is going to be mirrored to me, what I'm going to need to look at within myself in order to really keep up or remain kind of in a state of sort of viable compatibility with this person in this connection. They also see you as somebody with this spider energy that you're very good at manifesting. You in some way have demonstrated to them some degree of like metamorphosis, patience. You're definitely somebody who attracts and does not chase. If this is a situation where it was like a runner chaser dynamic before, you've stepped out of that skin, you've evolved beyond that version of yourself, and that can be another aspect that sort of raised the bar. You're no longer in pursuit. The tables have turned, and now it's this person who's trying to almost sort of find a way back in, or seeking to sort of rebuild a bridge between the two of you in a way that sort of reflects this state of growth that you are in, and also sort of contributes to yielding different results between the two of you that are of a higher vibration than kind of whatever the entanglement was with one another before. So I'm going to get a few more oracle cards, and then I'll get into some messages from this person's higher self. Okay, so we have hell, rebirth, dark and light. Witch, passion. And Selene, abundance, romance. So these cards ooze the essence of divine feminine energy, empowered in this kind of creative primordial void within self. It's very alluring. They are very compelled in your direction with this sort of like moon energy here with Selene. As much as they have tried to resist or shut down their feelings or put on the brakes, they're drawn towards you almost in the same way that the moon compels the ocean tides. There's a sense of you having bewitched them almost, or just in the sense of kind of being in awe of sort of the work of art that is you, this different sort of versions of you that has emerged, this tapestry that you've created out of your life, your willingness to kind of work with the raw materials of your experience and kind of the resources available to you emotionally, tangibly, and intangibly, and really weaving that into this kind of perfect formula to start to call into your life different experiences other than kind of the hand that you were dealt in this lifetime or a previous cycle that you were in. They see you as somebody very proactive to kind of step into a place of power within yourself, rather than sort of shunning and hiding a lot of your shadow. They see you as somebody who is very kind of comfortable moving in these liminal spaces, something that you're very much geared toward in terms of empowerment, a deep understanding of self, working maybe to heal aspects of shame within, or ways in which you've kind of given your power away. You're in this process of reclaiming, and especially if this is somebody that you were dealing with in a previous cycle, it's been kind of a back and forth, you're in no contact with one another. It's definitely the sense of, you've transmuted something out of that experience with this person the last time around. You've leveled up, you've raised the bar, and there's a bit of intimidation as far as that's concerned. They see you as somebody very much standing in the full expression of your personal power at this point in time, in a way that you were not doing the last time around. Or, if this is somebody you don't have a romantic history with, you are very different from anybody that they have dated before, which is very intimidating, because whether this is a kind of an active work in progress or something that you've achieved some degree of mastery of, they do see you as sort of very aware of your sort of strengths and vulnerabilities, and that you've crafted a life for yourself, or are in the process of crafting a life for yourself. And this ties in with sort of discernment with who and what you give your heart to, your time and attention to, that is not just arbitrary. You're not just someone who's going to settle for the first thing that comes along. Breadcrumbs will not suffice. It's the idea of the whole loaf or nothing. And this is something which they find very alluring, very, very attractive. There's a seductive quality about you, almost like they're very intimidated by your strength, and at the same time very afraid of being kind of overtaken by that, sort of falling under your spell or in your web in some kind of a way. because they see you as somebody who is not afraid to walk away if you are not experiencing reciprocity as far as emotions are concerned. And this is very different from the version of you they first got to know, or it's very different from other people that they've dated, in a sense that they almost might be kind of putting on the brakes because they don't know how to operate in this energy. They don't know how to meet you on your level, and kind of how to interact with someone on an emotional nature that displays such almost like a quiet strength within. This isn't like loud personal power. It's just an essence of you really being an advocate of self-love, really embracing these different sorts of parts of you, taking the time to really nurture yourself, and at the same time, having a high standard within your life as far as what you give your attention to, and relationships that feed you in the same way that you feed into them. And this energy with hell also speaks about kind of the idea of, transformation, death and rebirth, the light and the shadow, the yin and the yang. They see you as that embodiment. You are the yin to your own yang. You've achieved that. You've accomplished that, or you are moving through that sort of ever-changing process in a very beautiful and compelling way that is very inspirational to them on a personal level. They see you as somebody who has been through your fair share of darkness. You definitely have traveled through your personal underworld at least once. Maybe you've just come out of some kind of cycle of like a dark night of the soul or another dark night of the soul, and you've risen in kind of this fullness and glory of who you are that is very, it's a version of you they have not seen before, and they definitely like that. They're very much compelled in this direction, almost more magnetically than they had been the first time around. The idea of like this change looks really good on you, this glow up, or sort of like a captivating of your glow within, and bringing that out into the fullness of who you are. This looks very attractive. You carry this energy very well. Or it's a sense of like they've never seen somebody who sort of wears their scars so beautifully. This can even just be something energetically speaking. If they don't have all those details of sort of what you've been through, if you're, it's too soon to kind of have gone there with this person, it's just something that they sense within, and that you've almost become more compassionate and more loving through what you've been through, which can also be very rare from people that they are used to interacting with in love. So there's a degree of like being very compelled in your direction, very intimidated by you, but this level of intimidation, it's not stopping them. It's just causing them to sort of proceed with caution in this situation, because they're really not wanting to mess up or miss their chance with you, not wanting to miss the chance to reconnect. It's a sense of kind of like, if things can continue to build or can be rebuilt between the two of us, this is the makings of, the type of kind of like strong and well-balanced partner that they have been looking for. Something that's a very new experience for them in love, and something that even on a personal level, it's very inspirational. Like you would be a good support system for them in their own kind of process of becoming and sort of stepping into more of the fullness of who they are in their own life as well. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self right now. Okay, and they say, I feel badly for the way that I treated you. You didn't deserve that. So if this is somebody that you're in no contact with, or you've just started to rebuild bridges with, they are definitely, they have a lot more respect for you now than they did before. And it is more than just simply realizing what they had now that it is gone, or after it was gone. There's a sense of, you have profoundly changed. So they are not only seeing you in a different light, but you're a different version of who you were before. They're deeply compelled towards you. And at the same time, they're understanding that you're at a stage in your life where if they stand a chance of being part of your reality, they're really going to have to come correct. You're kind of in a no nonsense period. That discernment that you are expressing and that you're kind of embodying, it's very kind of keen. It's like Queen of Swords sort of energy where you're really not going to tolerate any nonsense. If it's somebody who's planning their return, there's a sense of understanding that they've got one shot to make this right, that you're not just going to be giving them endless chances. You've broken out of some kind of cycle with them, some kind of cycle in your life, and you're sort of on this upward trajectory, and there is a longing to move in that direction with you, but an understanding that they need to kind of raise the bar within themselves to make that possible. If this is somebody that, you've just been starting to get to know, there's really no, period of distance or disconnect. This is almost a bit of regret at kind of this instinct or urge within them, almost due to some kind of intimidation factor or a way in which they are putting this connection or the energy between the two of you, or what this might develop into, onto a bit of a pedestal, and kind of like, I want to get this right, and so I've been putting on the brakes. And any sort of confusion that this has been leading to, or skepticism on your part, maybe you've had to take a step back again in that sort of empowered version of you that is, willing to kind of set up barriers and boundaries if you're feeling kind of fishy energy around, and there's a regret that sort of they're needing to take kind of the long way to your heart because of this kind of pressure to sort of get things right in the situation, but not necessarily being at the point of being able to fully understand that motivation within themselves or express it. It's like an instinct, not so much a conscious plan of like, okay, I'm drawn to this person, yet I'm going to hold myself back. I want to rush toward them, but I'm going to take a Knight of Pentacles approach and kind of just toddle along to that next sort of juncture of us getting to know one another. And so it's not a matter of them trying to almost play with your emotions or play with your heart, but there's a sense of sort of like, it's a delicate period of time that you may find yourselves at right now in terms of what, if anything, is developed going forward. They also say you've been in my dreams. So big energetic telepathic connection here, a lot more than meets the eye in this situation. This is somebody who may be coming towards you in dreams in a very loving capacity, words that they are unable to speak because there's distance between the two of you, or they're holding themselves back. In the etheric plane, they are shameless about sort of expressing that to you. And it feels like something that they may even for some be very consciously setting that intention before they go to sleep, or when they know that you're sleeping, of kind of like, okay, I'm gonna send these vibes of love because I'm not in a place to necessarily fully express that in an outward sense at this point in time. But I want to try and mesh my energies with this person, so at least it keeps that kind of energetic bond alive. It keeps the spice alive in this connection while we're still kind of figuring things out in a 3D material sense. This also ties into the idea of you're the person of their dreams in a lot of ways. They could be also kind of putting those brakes on, a sense of like, is this person too good to be true? Did I really just meet somebody like that? Am I lucky enough to have kind of crossed paths with somebody who is inspirational and challenging and nurturing and wise and strong and vulnerable, all in one package. And they also say the grass wasn't greener on the other side. So again, somebody that you are in no contact with or is attempting to reconcile with you, they have definitely seen you from a different vantage point. The distance has served them well. A sense of running from the connection or some kind of cycle you were stuck in with one another, kind of looping round and round before. You've detached, you've grown, you've evolved, you've changed, and it has allowed them, it feels like, the time and space to start to really get some breathing room and truly decide what it is that they want, what they've been prioritizing, what they've been feeding their time and energy into, and whatever that looks like. They're kind of at a point of wanting to move back in your direction. You're the golden ticket. You're the one that they've been looking for. This connection has a lot of those markers of kind of long-term stability that they've been seeking or craving. This can also tie into the idea of somebody that's kind of a fresh connection. You don't have that back and forth history with one another, that you're very different from anyone that they've dated before. And there's a big intimidation factor with that, kind of like, this is a different playing field. The rules in love that I am used to don't apply with this person. And so they're kind of just like, they're improvising as they're going through the process of moving forward with you, and, you know, sort of trying not to overstep boundaries, but at the same time very aware that holding back is almost kind of reaching a point that it's no longer serving this connection, or there's some kind of motivation or compulsion to sort of pick up the pace on what it is they're feeding into this situation. They also say, I lose myself in dreams about a life together. So another reference there to dreams. You are their dream come true. They may be actively manifesting a future with you, or kind of taking a clue from your playbook as far as manifestation is concerned. If these are things that you've discussed with one another, or something where they're almost trying to emulate your vibration, the way you're holding yourself, and kind of a state of balance you've achieved within yourself, kind of like this yin to your own yang sort of energy, or even abundance in a material sense that you've cultivated. Ways in which you've overcome heartbreak. If it's somebody that, you know, you were dealing with before and it's a no contact situation, they see the change within you, they like that, and they want to kind of get up to that level. And so it's the idea of sort of tapping in, energetically speaking, and trying to almost acclimate their vibration to yours in order to be able to kind of have some degree of freedom and empowerment that they sense and see within you, and also to be at that place where they can meet you at your level and actually have something comparable to offer, rather than sort of expecting you to kind of carry them in this situation. They also say we share a telepathic bond. Yeah, so that was coming through with the telepathy and the dreams, and they are strongly consciously sensing an energetic connection between the two of you. You know, the language that they attach to that, it's going to be different for everybody. Some people, this is going to be a person who has done the research, they've gone down the rabbit hole, they have come upon the term of twin flames, and they're telling themselves, yes, this resonates with this situation. That can even be very intimidating in and of itself. The pressure is on. This is no ordinary love. Others are going to really consider this to be like a soulmate, or deep soul connection. Or even for some that don't have the desire to kind of attach a title, or just haven't kind of reached that level in their journey, or it's just not part of sort of their plan or their scope, or kind of their worldview or perspective, they are nevertheless understanding that you are a significant person in their life, that there is more to learn out of this situation, or there's something sort of more than meets the eye, deeper to this situation than they were anticipating when they first crossed paths with you. It feels like the intensity of this, kind of this motivation to grow and change, and kind of aspects of themselves that are blossoming in conjunction with, you know, speaking with you, exchanging energy with you on various levels, thinking about you, all of these different things. They're almost kind of stepping into this firefly energy within themselves without really meaning to. And it's something that very consciously they are recognizing how, you know, you've activated something. You've brought about this very instinctual kind of urge to sort of step more into their authenticity, kind of glow brighter than they have, you know, to just, you bring a lot of sunshine into their life, and you also sort of point the way in a very indirect sense to this sunshine that has been within themselves, that is kind of, it's illuminating a lot of things. It's sort of opening the door to a deep potential. And so no matter where they're at as far as their understanding, there is this kind of knowing that you are a significant person. This connection is worth sort of taking the steps necessary in order to try and do this right, to experience the fullness of what is possible, and, you know, definitely a curiosity about sort of what lies beyond the next kind of corner or blind spot in this situation. They also say you are what home is supposed to feel like. Yes, you are a dream come true for this person. You are everything that they were looking for, and for some, everything they were looking for that they didn't know that they were looking for, they didn't know that they needed. They've never met anyone quite like you. You have definitely shaken something loose, it feels like, within this person, emotionally speaking. It's almost the energy of, you've awakened them to a capacity to love or to feel a stirring within their heart. Maybe for some they had gotten very apathetic about relationships, and you've kind of brought them back to life. You've given them this spark and this kind of rejuvenation. They feel very seen and very nurtured and very understood, but at the same time very challenged to not kind of play small with their own life. And this doesn't feel to be the energy of you sort of barking orders at this person, or moving in a very dictatorial fashion and sort of saying, well, this is the only type of company that I want to keep in my life. You are this living example of almost like a raised standard within self. You are the embodiment of self-love. And so without pressuring, you're really sort of leading by example and encouraging this person to sort of step beyond their comfort zone, introspect very deeply, and open their mind to a greater potential of what's possible in love in general, and most assuredly what's possible between the two of you going forward. So let's get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or this can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got G, Q, F, R, S, P, E, C, V, R, M, N, F, W, U, C, G, K, and B. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channel letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance, so if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the clear quartz, along with the Crow card. So to channel some introductory energies as far as the person on your mind's thoughts and feelings about you and the connection right now. If you are in a no contact or a period of separation, maybe just life circumstances have created some sort of distance. It feels like they are waiting for some kind of window of opportunity to present some sort of offer, some sort of communication. In the silence, in the distance, in the darkness, they are considering moving towards you. They have seen or appreciated your value or worth almost in a way that might have been obscured because of the closeness that you once shared before. But almost now that there's been some energetic or literal space that has been created between the two of you, they've really had time to sort of sit and marinate on the nature of their feelings. They may have been very sort of wrapped up in sort of a third energy, or not in terms of like a third party, although for some it could have been a situation where, they chose to go in another direction and there's been some regret in that capacity. But this almost feels to be sort of a third energy produced through your dealings with one another. Almost kind of the higher potential of what the situation could develop into that really obscured or sort of overshadowed where their energy ended and where yours began. This may have been something that very much, vice versa, you could have experienced a lot of the same phenomenon, that there was almost this seamless kind of blending, a merging of the two of you energetically speaking in times where you were in closer proximity to one another. It may have been something that was very overwhelming to one or both of you, to where a period of distance or separation was almost necessary to get some breathing room in this situation. And it is something which definitely for this person, perhaps for you as well, it's helped to really put things in perspective. It's necessary almost, it feels like, for each of you to really be in this place where you're sort of settling back into your own vibration. And from this place of kind of folding into yourselves, into kind of this quiet or this period of contemplation, it has provided truth and illumination as far as next steps that they would like to take. That feels to be sort of the main focus of the thoughts at this point in time, is like, where do we go from here? Or if there's an appointed hour, of the two of you reconnecting. Let's say you needed to sort of, travel, or things as far as like work or life changes, or other sort of pressures and duties and obligations have created almost like an involuntary period of separation. And there was sort of this agreement of kind of, at this time, at this kind of precise date is when I'll be back in town. This is when I'll be available. This is when we're next going to kind of meet up. It might even just be something where, you're not as dramatic as like a long-term sort of separation, but even, it's a few days since you've seen one another, and kind of your recent interactions with each other have again sort of produced this kind of third energy, a higher potential, this kind of untapped potential, or a point on the horizon that a connection between the two of you has the ability to sort of grow or evolve into, in a sense. This person is definitely almost kind of chomping at the bit, it feels like, to have this opportunity to see you again, to speak to you again, to interact with you again. Something has become very apparent to them, as far as, not that you're necessarily the missing piece for them, but in some way they feel like a more enhanced or vibrant version of who they are while in your company. Not that they're kind of like changing to accommodate some version of what they think you would want them to be, but almost just on a very basic level, something within them that kind of rises to the surface and presents itself or asserts itself in a very dominant manner that is not usually so quick to be expressed, or may have been kind of almost something that was rejected or relegated to the shadow, had not been valued or appreciated in connections before. There's a sense of this part of them is very safe to be seen and expressed and integrated in what the two of you are kind of building with one another. It might even be kind of this thought that is being given to at this point in time, to sort of revealing another facet of who they are to you. Kind of this gem or this treasure that they have been saving for a special connection, a special person, waiting till the time is right to sort of bring forth this aspect of them that they may have sort of tuck that away into the shadow. Maybe it was something from childhood and upbringing, a sensitivity within them, hopes and dreams, kind of like aspects of their personality that they have been wearing some sort of mask or some sort of an illusion to kind of operate in the material world. And there's been this sort of lost fragment of them that has been looking for a place to be brought more out into the light of day, and to be seen, and to be, sort of incorporated in kind of how they're moving through a particular situation. And they're almost seeing that this is the circumstance where, they're feeling confident to kind of bring this forth, to show you a part of themselves that you have not seen yet, or that has not really had a place within other connections, platonic or romantic, even in their life before. There's a sense here of almost kind of this growing understanding that you're the type of person that they've been looking for. They've been waiting a very long time to meet somebody like you. And it feels like the gravity of all of this is kind of any sort of a period of distance that's been created. They're seeing this as a gift almost at this point in time, because it's really allowed them to kind of sit almost within this quiet contemplation of a receptivity, really hear the inner sort of voice within them that says, you should move back toward this situation. This is worth investing in. This is something, this is a person, this is a situation that is worth working with to kind of build something long term. And they may have been very wrapped up in kind of the high, or this kind of, third energy, this very high vibrational kind of potential, almost like a future timeline for the two of you, glimmering off in the distance in a very present manner, in a very kind of audible manner between the two of you when you're interacting with one another. And that may have been something that was almost kind of like a shiny distraction for the two of you, and so there's been a need to kind of pull back the energy. But in this place of pulling back the energy, they've come to some kind of revelation, something that wants to be expressed. Maybe this is just gratitude for you, the words "I love you," making some kind of a commitment, or even just sort of energetically opening their heart more to you and expressing more of that vulnerability in a way that they have not done yet in this connection, or done before, ever in a connection for some. So I'm going to get a few more cards from this wild, unknown spirit animal deck to get a little bit deeper here into their thoughts and feelings about you and the connection right now. Okay, so we have nightingale, fox, hyena, and lion. So there's a bit of kind of like shadowy energy here in terms of doubting almost that the higher possibility, that kind of third energy that's generated between the two of you, that feels very compelling. It carries a lot of promise and potential. And with two kind of shadowy, or a little bit almost sort of like deceptive cards that are showing up here, this can really indicate mirroring for the two of you, where there's a bit of like, is this situation too good to be true? Am I missing red flags? Is this just a product of some kind of aspect of my wounding from the past that has found a way to sort of re-present itself again? Same wound, different face in terms of how it's being reintroduced. These feel to be kind of like deep questions which are being confronted. It's a sense of fears within, and kind of working up the courage to acknowledge that, yes, there are these reservations. Yes, there is this kind of fear of repeating patterns in their life by continuing to choosing to continue and participate with you in this situation, or develop it further, or to come back around and admit that they were wrong, admit that they chose the wrong path, if it was like a literal third party involved in this situation. A sense of like rejection is a possibility, that you may just sort of laugh them off, or give them a little taste of their own medicine, kind of pretend to be very sort of receptive and warm, only to sort of turn the tables on them or pull the rug out from under them. This may be sort of, if this is not a situation that's happened between the two of you, it feels to be something that could have happened in their romantic past. Maybe their kindness being taken for weakness, or again, some kind of sequestered aspect of themselves, emotionally speaking, that had been sort of manipulated in previous connections, or had been underappreciated, ridiculed, undervalued. And there's this sense of like, I want to speak my truth. I want to express to you more of who I am than you've come to know up to this point in time. I want to change the opinion that you have of me for the better, but I'm very fearful that if I open up about this part of myself that I've been, maybe very fiercely guarding or protecting, that it's something that might erode your opinion of me. It's something to where maybe I'm overstepping those boundaries. I'm seeing too much potential in the situation, and it's only one-sided. Kind of back to that idea of like a third energy created mutually between the two of you, this sort of higher timeline. It feels like something that's not been openly discussed. There may have been suggestion and innuendo by the two of you, but it's almost like two people who are sitting on a fence, and like, who's gonna make that move forward first? Who's gonna state the obvious first? Who's gonna be the one to really crack open into this new cycle, into this new potential between the two of us? And it feels like this person has backed off in some way in order to really soul search and to confront some degree of shadow within. not wanting this to be a missed opportunity, wanting to really give this situation the benefit of the doubt, almost kind of like their fears sort of surfacing and in a way almost unraveling a lot of the progress that you've made with one another. But it's almost something that seeks to kind of clear away some element of like fantasy thinking, that even though there might have been a lot of solid foundation created, there was also clearly some energy where fantasy and like higher potential and maybe a bit of kind of putting one another on a pedestal, or this person putting you and the connection on a pedestal, that would not have served kind of a stable foundation, something that could, withstand the storms of life and reality. So it almost feels to be some kind of divine intervention that may have created, worldly circumstances, other sort of distractions, things happening in both your lives that has kind of created this chasm between the two of you, so that there's an opportunity to kind of ground back down into self and say, where are we going moving forward in this? How does each person really feel about this situation and themselves in the situation, in order to make kind of the educated choice about where we go moving forward? And it feels to be something that, they're listening to their heart, though, as far as these things are concerned. That the fears are very loud, they're glaringly obvious at this particular point in time, but they're very determined to kind of take proactive measures towards you. And it may be something where they're needing to kind of bide their time or wait. If it's some kind of literal physical, there's a timetable and they just can't speak to you sooner, you can't access one another or really sit down. It might not even be that it's you're totally radio silence and out of contact, but this is almost sort of like a serious conversation that they want to have, something that they're putting a lot of importance on. And it might just be that your schedules and the busyness, there's just not the time for that intimacy, for that one-on-one, and creating kind of the mood and setting the stage to really open up to this next sort of layer of vulnerability in the way that they'd like. And so it's a degree of almost kind of waiting for other things to settle, waiting for the right moment or the right timing. And in this period of kind of having to wait or forcing themselves to wait, that's when the shadows are sort of coming up and, almost kind of seeking to deter them off this path, or to lean into the place of doubt rather than trust, to lean into skepticism rather than belief in the miraculous, that out of all the people on this planet, the two of you have found one another, and that you are experiencing this very kind of next level connections, very sort of mysterious, almost like otherworldly sort of energy. It's feels to be sent from on high, but they don't quite understand what all that entails. It's a sense of not wanting to fully sort of look at you as somebody who, is here to kind of save them from themselves, but it's an essence of kind of, they feel so enhanced in your presence. You're not the missing piece, but you're something which really kind of just hoists them to a place of stepping more into the authenticity, the fullness and expression of who they are, which is, it's very unusual for them, or it hasn't happened before. And so it feels to be very necessary kind of aspects of the shadow that are the bridge to kind of transcending into deeper potential. But there's this urge to kind of protect and preserve the foundation that you have with one another. Or if this is something where apologies are going to be owed, they could be considering, kind of drafting that, maybe a text or an email, or sort of scripting what they're going to say, but not wanting to miss the mark, not wanting to miss their chance, understanding that it's kind of like Ace of Pentacles energy. There's one opportunity, or it's got to be something that is very clear. It's very definitive. They can't be beating around the bush. They can't be vague. They can't be elusive. They can't be running from themselves. They need to sort of face this shadow within and really come forth in an energy of certainty, in order to be able to kind of turn the page in the situation in another direction. And so it's like they're keeping a very tight lid on this at this particular point in time, protecting this desire until sort of the moment presents itself, where they come to this place of readiness within to be able to speak very plainly with you about kind of what they're feeling about your history with one another, your experiences presently, and sort of the future potential that they are wanting to move toward. So I'm going to get a few more oracle cards, and then I'll get into just some messages from this person's higher self. Okay, so we have Hecate, Crossroads, the Mystic, Discovery. Kuan Yin, Love, Compassion, Unity. And Danu, Spiritual Learning and Ascension. So this is definitely a more intense type of connection that they have experienced with another person before. The intensity of that has created, either by default in terms of divine intervention, giving each of you time to really sort of process this and acclimate yourselves individually to whatever comes next, or something that they've created or initiated, maybe even through a bit of self-sabotage, in order to kind of make some sort of room for themselves, or they really have been sort of turned in the direction of space has been created, and so now they're looking at you in this situation from a new vantage point. Now they're able to see something that has been obscured before. It's a different face, it's a different facet of you, the importance of you, the potential of this situation. Also tying into the idea of another facet or face of themselves that they are wanting to bring forth. That idea of the crossroads and kind of a decision point. Is it the time to act? What's the right thing to say? How do I approach this? Am I ready for what comes next? Am I ready for the potential for rejection? Am I ready for things to go right? It's a myriad of questions that they're kind of embroiled with. It's a lot of sort of mental energy that's surrounding this, with the idea of Kuan Yin and love and compassion. The heart space, it feels like, is almost holding the line at this particular point in time for this person to sort of run the gamut of, these fears and these hopes, all in this kind of mental space that they are in right now. And the heart is just sort of, the heart knows what it wants. The heart wants to move forward towards you with an apology. The heart wants to explore what more might develop between the two of you, going forward. But it's their mind that is kind of overactive at this particular point in time, seeking answers about something that can really only be discerned through experience. And there's a bit of frustration as far as that is concerned as well. It's a sense of almost like wanting to know, wanting to define, wanting to have all the kind of steps in line as far as what this is, what this will develop into. How much of themselves is too much? How much needs to be held back? Is this the right time to kind of press forward? Is it better suited to wait? Almost the idea of kind of energetic distance or literal distance. A lot of kind of obsessive sort of like wondering, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you doing? Even if you're still in communication with one another, it feels to be something that the communication might be very tense. It might be very limited even. It could be something where a bit of the agitation or frustration energetically could be translating through from this person, and it's almost causing you to back off. Like, this is too intense and I'm not participating with you in this sense, or it's almost kind of just making you sort of lean into that guarded place. A lot of mirroring going on in this situation at this particular point in time, because it feels like you're both really in a place with this idea of ascension. This connection is getting ready to move to the next level. And whether that is, the potential is not acted upon, fear gets the better of this person because everybody has free will. And there's a lot of sort of shadowy energy kind of seeping doubt into their confidence. So it's possible for some that they will not take action forward at this time, or, maybe fear will get the better of them. And then the connection sort of, it runs its course. It sort of, it fizzles out, or it dissolves in some way, like the long goodbye almost. It very slowly, just that potential never sort of grounds down into material reality. For others, though, this is, the step into a next level of love. It's the next level and layer of your connection with one another. It's a new experience. It opens the door to new exchanges as far as, energies and kind of that third energy created between the two of you, even ways in which, you're mirroring one another, and a confrontational sort of energy about, here are the shadows, here are the flaws, but here is also kind of the love and the strength, and sort of light within each person. That in and of itself, that the nature of how visceral that mirroring is maybe something that is very unusual, even if you're both people that are spiritual, have been kind of engaged in this process of getting to know yourselves, and kind of on this path of self-improvement. It feels like this was a sharp wake-up call for the two of you, really being sort of bombarded almost with the intensity of, here are some nooks and crannies within your own kind of journey in self that had been overlooked or had not been able to be accessed. Here's a crucial component of something that you could work toward, to up level, to step toward more abundance within and without. But it requires sort of leaps of faith beyond fear. It's truly the crossroads of the path between fear and love. And this person is really sensing that at this particular point in time. And it has them all wrapped up in the mental space. A lot of mental chatter going on at this particular point in time, as they feel the importance of this, the nature of this, that whatever they decide, whatever they do or don't do in this situation, they're really seeing that kind of where you're at real time right now in this situation, and whatever comes next kind of very immediately. It's almost something where they're seeing that this sort of affects or paves a particular trajectory that has long-term implications for themselves individually, for what's possible between the two of you. This is kind of like a crucial phase that either it's a make or break it moment in this situation that affects more than just sort of the longevity of what's possible, but it's also kind of opens the door to a series of, karmic retributions, or the closing of, maybe some very stubborn kind of karmic cycles that they've been dealing with, and you might have been dealing with very individually for yourselves as well. So let's see what they want you to know from their higher self right now. Okay, and they say, I've looked you up online to see what you've been up to. So there's that energy of chomping at the bit, really wanting to speak to you, really wanting to sort of gauge and see, are you giving any clues or indications if you are, as kind of wrapped up in your head about this connection, what happens going forward, the history between the two of you, seeking to define and understand in the same way that they are. A lot that is kind of implied so far in this situation, but has yet to be kind of brought into the light of day. And so this ties into the element of sort of strategy almost, or within this sort of silence within themselves. They're trying to gather as much information as possible, taking almost a bird's eye perspective of you, out of sort of this haze of kind of a third energy that's generated between the two of you. All of this potential, this kind of the high and the elation of what you are together, feeling very much on cloud nine, or like the best version of them. But it's the shadow in a very sort of self-protective way that is encouraged, or has, kind of created a series of circumstances that now has generated by default, for better or worse, a period of distance between the two of you, so that when and if that next step forward is taken, it comes from a very well-educated place within. It comes from a balanced place within. It feels like the nature and intensity of this connection. Impulsivity has brought the two of you this far, but kind of to breach the barrier into that next territory, it's going to take a willingness to sort of vanquish some shadow within. And so part of that is almost using the logical mind to try and create definitions or create some sort of certainty, when the certainty is what exists within their heart space, which is take that action step, express yourself, give that apology, show this part of you. And it's kind of the frantic and overactive mind that is sort of looking at all the possible what ifs, what could go right, what could go wrong. And they also say, I can't handle your words right now. So again, the intensity of the connection has maybe made this person back off, pause, needing to really sort of soul search, reflect, come to their own conclusions about not just wrapped up in kind of the high or the velocity of the good times between the two of you, but it's a sense of almost wanting to make sure that that higher potential is something which can be grounded into material reality in the form and fashion that a solid foundation is laid between the two of you. This is all something which is leaning toward, it's almost like they're at this place of sort of like a Two of Pentacles. Should I or shouldn't I? What's that going to look like? With the intention of laying that solid foundation of the Three of Pentacles, but then they're kind of jumping timelines ahead to what we do now is with the intention of we're working toward that Ten of Pentacles. And so that feels to be something that's sort of this backing off, this kind of like folding into themselves, utilizing this time of kind of silence and solitude for personal introspection and reflection. It's actually something which is, if they choose to sort of take action in a productive way going forward, they've come to some sort of deep personal truth within that whatever is offered for those that do take that leap of faith, it feels to be something it's going to be exquisite. It's going to be something worthwhile. It's going to be something very reliable because it wasn't reached based on impulse. It was something which is reached based on a lot of deliberation, kind of the certainty of the heart, and allowing that, mental space, that logical aspect of themselves to really have it say, to kind of, spin their wheels and then come to this place where all parts of them are ready to sort of move forward. And they also say, your intensity frightens and allures me all at the same time. So there's that confirmation of not just your intensity, but the intensity of what is experienced energetically between the two of you when you interact with one another, when you're in the same room, when you're talking with one another, even when there's more sort of direct attention put on one another. It's a sense of even, they may have backed off your social media even to a certain degree. They're not really coming online very much. They're not as kind of active in commenting or liking your posts as they might have been before. And this is all stemming from this energy of, I need some breathing room, but something that's almost, their conscious mind is sort of occupied in how do we move forward from this place? And the unconscious mind has sort of pulled them back into themselves. So they had this opportunity to kind of settle, level up in some way in their own vibration, because the intensity of this sort of third energy generated between the two of you and your interactions, this is an immutable point. And so now it's the task of like the two of you sort of rising up to that level where you can sustain that electricity, sustain that intensity for longer periods of time, for the long term. It's become almost very clear and evident to this person and maybe to you that that layer of intensity is not going anywhere. And so now the task is, do we choose to sort of raise our vibrations to be able to hold that and sustain that and work with that more? Or is this something where, it's too much and we sort of choose to move back into a comfort zone of something that's a little less intense, a little more familiar, a little more predictable, which is where if a literal third party is involved in this situation or was in the past, that might have been the motivation, is kind of choosing that path of fear. It feels less intense. There's less required of me to navigate there. I feel able to kind of just nurse my own wounds and kind of personal distortions without having everything being mirrored as far as both my deficits and the potential, the higher potential beyond that within self. They also say, I'm sorry I couldn't do right by you. So they are regretting any kind of self-sabotage, anything as far as like emotional distance, kind of like ghosting, or even just energetically ghosting and kind of giving no explanation for why they put the brakes on, why they've kind of pulled back their energy in this situation. And it feels like something that it almost came as an instinct. This wasn't malice on their part. It wasn't planned on their part. They're understanding that it's kind of almost conveying the wrong message to you, that you may feel very confused, very played with, very manipulated in a sense. And it's almost just something that they're in a process, it feels like, of sort of up-leveling in some way. And it was almost out of sheer necessity. The intensity reached kind of an apex, and there was no choice but to sort of fall back down into kind of this personal darkness in order to truly be able to discern, what can I provide to the situation moving forward? What do I want out of this situation moving forward? What do I now see and understand is truly given to me by this situation? What do I want out of this going forward? They also say, I'm sorry I panicked and let my fears mess things up. So there's another confirmation of that, the intensity of this, the shadows, the fears, too good to be true, but it feels like more of an energetic intensity just caused them to buckle in this situation. It was almost kind of like somebody running a marathon, and then all of a sudden they just collapse. They kind of just veer off the track very unexpectedly, and sort of just take this pause, take this alternate route, off of where you thought the two of you were headed, or this momentum that had been built up. But it's something that comes with there's a good reason behind it. It's something that almost just, it transcends. I mean, there's fears involved, but it feels like for a lot of people that it's something that just, there's a part of them that understood that it's like this needs to sort of be put on pause or put on hold, because to be able to sustain this vibration and even kind of higher potentials that are still waiting to be tapped into, there was some kind of need to upgrade, maybe for the two of you even, upgrade your energy, detoxify your life, take some time to really absorb and marinate on, and come to this deep personal conclusion about what this all is. It feels like something that took both of you very much by surprise in this situation. And so if you choose to participate with this moving forward, it's going to require different versions of you than were the case kind of when you've been dealing with one another up to this point in time. So even tying into the idea of the crow, definitely they could be in a dark night of the soul right now. You might be in a dark night of the soul right now. Again, a lot of mirroring energy here. And so they're very much confronting the shadow. This is somebody that even if there's distance, they're sitting with this. They might not be at the place where they're ready yet to speak about this, or to bring something forth. They're still very much wrapped up in their head. But they're understanding and acknowledging, that it's not just by happenstance that you've kind of come into this situation, but it's an opportunity to kind of look at some fears and decide, where am I going to go moving forward, and then what does that mean for us moving forward. And they also say, you have always inspired me. So yeah, there's this motivation to up level, the incentive here of kind of, if they can overcome these fears within, they feel very good in your presence. They feel very good interacting with you. It's like a sense of feeling alive again, or an experience that they've never known in interacting with another person, kind of a vibration within that they never knew how to tap into within themselves before, they didn't know existed before. And there's a practical part of them that almost sort of needed to stop and just sort of say to themselves, is this real, or am I just wrapped up in some kind of fantasy? Is this really something that is kind of next level, that's otherworldly, that's so unexplainable, that kind of opens the door to these higher experiences than I have had before in relationship with myself and with another person? Or is this something that is all just kind of two people getting carried away, or one person just getting kind of carried away with themselves, their imagination running wild? And it's something that they're very much hopeful that on the other side of this process that they've created, or that has been necessitated, that there's evolution, that there's growth in this situation. They're not wanting to lose this connection. They're wanting to kind of step into a place of themselves that is able to offer something more beautiful toward the next layer of your foundation with one another. They also say, you understand me better than anyone. So again, this is a connection already that transcends their experiences of love and partnership up to this point in time. They feel very inspired, very motivated, and also very triggered by you and this situation. This can definitely be a twin flame that you're dealing with here, or some kind of high-level soulmate situation, where this is no ordinary love. This is not something which, it's the idea of like the good times between the two of you may be very easy, but in order to sort of capture that, in order to keep that nourished and alive, there is the challenge of kind of shedding versions of each of you and unearthing more and more of that kind of capacity to believe in yourself, to give to yourselves very deeply in order to be able to receive very deeply from another. And so, kind of periods of time where you're pivoting with one another, and this feels to be one of those darkened stages, or you're at that place right now. There was a need to kind of contract within self before expanding forth into, whatever may next sort of come down the line in this situation, or, whatever this person may bring forth. That idea of understanding, they're wanting to really show you a part of them that has not been exposed in this situation yet, a part of them that has not really had a safe haven and a connection before. There's an urge to grow and to develop and to expand beyond your present circumstances, but also a necessity to kind of sit here and really allow this sort of quorum of their heart, which is very certain, in their mind, which is kind of everywhere, to reach this happy medium before they are able to express what is weighing very heavily upon them of something that needs to be said, or that they are wanting to say and express. So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got K, W, U, R, L, F, P, D, B, L, O, Y, J, C, H, F, V, H, P, and B. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. We chose the purple fluorite, along with the deer card. So to channel some introductory energies from this card, you definitely bring out a gentleness within this person. They are very mindful about being gentle with your heart as well. There's an urge to encourage some softness within you rather than survival, guardedness, a triggered energy to surface in this connection. It's a sense of understanding, maybe through things that you've shared with them, or something that they're just picking up energetically, that you've definitely been hurt by love before. You have your walls up, you have your guard up. If you have a history with this person and it's a little bit complicated, then there's a sense of, that you might naturally be skeptical about their desire to return towards you. And so a sense in either situation of wanting to really earn your trust, wanting to come to a place in your connection where you feel comfortable about letting your walls down, allowing them in. This is a patient energy. This is not someone who's in any kind of rush. This is a sense of they're willing to wait for you. They see you as somebody who is worth taking the time to invest in whatever it takes to kind of reach that place where you're not feeling pressured. You're not feeling like, your back's against a wall, and it's, you have to kind of meet some sort of unreasonable expectations before you're ready to kind of allow that the love that they have to give to be fully received by yourself. It feels like a lot that they are holding within their heart space, waiting for the time maybe where you give them a signal about your energy kind of easing back, something that they're perceiving within you that is almost just sort of, you're very vigilant or hyper vigilant. You may have been through a lot in your life and in terms of love that has led to a sense of wounds and scars that are not fully healed or just kind of freshly healed. And there's really an urge to kind of create a sense within you that they are a safe person for you to be seen by. They are a safe person and a safe place for you to invest your heart. But they're not wanting to push you quicker than you are able to kind of come to that understanding very organically. And it feels to be something that there's a lot of pain within them about needing to kind of almost hold back. There's so much that they want to say. There's so much that they want to express. There's this energy of almost kind of wanting to embrace you and kiss away all that woundedness, all that brokenness, to help you feel the gentle side of love again. But understanding that kind of their turn in this process with you exists on the other side of some aspect within yourself that you're needing to let go of. You're needing to kind of let the guard down, let the wall down in a certain manner in order to be able to get or receive kind of the fullness of what this person wants to offer. And also so that, you're comfortable and kind of giving more of yourself to this connection, or more of yourself than you have in love in a while or before. And so there's a sense of, as much as they have needs and desires and wants in this situation, they're looking at you almost in this place of compassion, a sense of, even if you have not told them the details, there's just a sense of, you've been through so much and you deserve gentleness. And so they're trying to present themselves as that, as this constancy, as this safe space that when you're ready, they will be there to receive you and to take those next steps forward. So it's a very noble energy. This is somebody who it feels like they have very pure intentions with you. And it's something where they're not wanting to rush this situation. They're not wanting to rush you. They're, just in this kind of place right now of understanding that it's sort of almost like where things evolve from this point going forward. This is sort of up to you and how much you can allow yourself to believe in healthy and reciprocal love, which they want to offer, but they can only give so much. It requires you kind of getting out of your own way in order to be able to fully experience that. And in the same manner, it feels like something where they've kind of reached this point with you, or they're feeling this with you, because already just in your interactions with one another, you've provided this for them. You've helped them to take away some hurt that they were almost wearing as an armor, a defensiveness, a guardedness that kind of kept people at a distance, kept the tenderness of their heart sort of locked away and safe. And without pressuring or without meaning to, you've created such a safe space for this person that they've been able to kind of breathe this sigh of relief, to release some degree of tension that they've been holding within, or some kind of hurt that they've been holding within. And this may have been something that just happened very quietly. They didn't even need to express it to you. This just happened energetically, like a weight lifted off. Now they're in the place of, I want to reciprocate that. I want to be that for you. You've given me this gift. I want to be that gift to you as well. It's a tenderness of wanting to nurture and to explore and to experience a beauty of love that they already have kind of tapped into or have experienced with you up to this point in time, that they may have been somebody who's been used to lately, or in general, kind of like transactional romantic relationships of sort of like, we only love one another as long as there's benefit to each other. There's only kind of a favorable energy as long as somebody's getting something out of the equation. But in this situation with you, it feels just very free flowing and organic. This definitely could be a situation that started off, as like friends first, rather than somebody that, you just specifically had romantic designs on. And it's almost love that has blossomed out of a situation that at the outset, that's not kind of what the two of you really set out to be to one another. That's not what it was defined as to one another. And yet they've come to this place of almost without meaning to just holding space for them, just, being compassionate for them, or even just sort of meeting them at this level where they had this baggage or this hurt, that in this armor that they were carrying within, and you still sort of, you saw them, you encouraged them, you embraced kind of this manifestation of them. You've healed them in a very profound way, that had been almost kind of like a thing that they would have thought was unthinkable, something that they just had sort of resigned themselves to. My heart's going to be closed in this way forever, or this is just how I need to move going forward. Kind of a guardedness sort of in life and in love, and through this sort of backdoor route, you've cracked the code on this person's heart space, and they're really wanting to not just return the favor in terms of, well, I owe you kind of holding this space. I want to liberate you in the same way that you've liberated me from kind of this prison within my own heart. But it's a sense of almost, you've cracked open some potential emotionally speaking within them, and they want to just sort of hold space and wait for you to be able to kind of see and understand them on that level. And even if you're saying to yourself, but I already have feelings for this person, there's already this kind of romance going on, I've made it clear sort of what I feel, or that should be obvious, or for a lot of you, this will be something where it's like a situationship almost, but not something that's very kind of toxic. It almost just feels like a friendship, that there's something more going on in this situation, that this person has now kind of stepped beyond that threshold. You are much more than a friend to them. The feelings they have inside go far beyond that, and you've really kind of brought them into this place of allowing themselves to sort of be healed in a way. And so they're really wanting to kind of be that place for you until when you come to the point of sort of letting your guard down, so that the two of you can, explore and can experience this very tender and sweet potential, of what they feel is possible in terms of romance between the two of you, matters of exchanging on an emotional level with another person, the type of relationship. It's almost that you both have needed, you both learned through your fair share of pain, and this is a sense of them understanding that you can teach them through beautiful experiences. You already have taught them through beautiful experiences, and they're wanting to participate with that more in you, in a way in which you are comfortable. So I'm going to get a few more cards from this Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle to dive a little bit deeper into their thoughts and feelings about you and the state of the connection right now. Okay, so we have Moth, Mouse, Buffalo, and Fire Ant. So there's definitely this energy here of understanding that you've been hurt in love, they've been hurt in love before, and that you have in some way almost kind of miraculously transformed an idea that they had, a worldview that they had, that love hurts, love stings, love only disappoints or lets down, love only consumes and takes. And this may have been something that led to this degree of kind of guardedness, bracing themselves against that hurt, being hyper vigilant against that type of hurt again, and just through the nature of what you've cultivated with one another without meaning to, without sort of facing this head on and in a direct manner, but like with the idea of mouse, kind of very quietly, sort of in the dead of night, this has happened. All of a sudden, it's more than just two people who have caught feelings for one another, or someone who's caught feelings for another person. It's almost you've helped awaken their heart again. From this very dark place with this kind of lunar moth here on this card. It's the idea of their heart was veiled in shadow. Their heart was eclipsed. The idea of love and partnerships were eclipsed. And it was something to where even if there was a lot of palpable chemistry between the two of you from the outset, they almost just had this wall of pessimism. This is off limits. This can't happen. Not just because of your circumstances, but because of some element within themselves. It was almost just kind of bracing for impact, preparing for the worst, leading into situations with just a glass is half empty kind of perspective here. And you've managed to sort of, just by the sheer virtue of being you and the nature of your dealings with one another, maybe it's what you talk about, maybe you've held space for them, maybe you've been a listening ear for this person, or even just in sort of the blending of your energies and experience of a person such as yourself, that they may see a lot of similarities in terms of struggling to rise beyond, hurts and wounds that have been sustained through life and love, seeing almost like a kinship in here with the two of you, that this is something that has, in a very kind of roundabout way, you've awoken something within. They're seeing you and seeing this connection as it exists right now as a very sacred energy. It feels very kind of divinely sent, like you're the answer to kind of this last prayer that they had almost before their heart fully turned to stone. A sense of like, if there is deliverance from this, if I am meant to experience love in this life again or at all, I'm kind of on this sort of last shred of hope. I'm kind of operating in this energy of giving up forever. And then you've come into their life, you've awakened their heart, but not in a manner that is sort of, again, approached very directly of like two people. So for most of you, this is going to be a situation where it's not, you went on the dating app and you met somebody and all of a sudden they've got these kind of big feelings for you. This is something that's kind of, it's snuck up on them. It feels like it's snuck up on you with this idea of kind of the ants here and sort of this collaborative energy, this kind of teamwork, this team sort of effort. It may be something where you go through these periods with one another of kind of being very placid and peaceful and also being deeply triggered, a sense of almost kind of cracking your hearts open to love and really kind of holding on to that wound very furiously. This person may have been very resistant to these feelings for quite some time, but they finally surrendered to that. They finally come into a place of transcending some kind of pessimism or darkness about what their feelings for you were and are, feelings and worldview about love and partnerships in general, the nature of kind of your meeting of one another, a sense of really seeing kind of that this in a way is divinely orchestrated. There may have been a lot of coincidences that sort of led into a sense of the two of you crossing paths with one another that they just sort of brushed off before. They overlooked or underestimated, undervalued that in a way, but it's now their attention's being drawn back to that of just, you've almost come into their life and when it was just, you were the last hope. This was the midnight hour, and all of a sudden they can feel again. This may be somebody who has gone through a period of time where they were kind of in this perpetual almost darkness or numbness within, kind of just going through the motions of life, disappointment after disappointment, kind of heartbreak after heartbreak, sting after sting in a lot of different areas of their life. Someone who may have just really felt that kind of the deck was stacked against them. They were just trying to get through this life, just trying to do their time in this life, and then whatever would come beyond that, maybe the next time around things would be different. A sense of a person who may have also really felt that karma was kind of not being friendly to them. They were unlucky in love, or things just kind of, again, creating this very deeply rooted or deeply entrenched idea that love hurts, love stings, a lot of karmic connections that they may have really experienced. And now they're at this place of, this is what love should feel like. You've shown them and you've educated them in a very profound way in that manner. And so there's this urge now to show you, to hold that space for you, to be that kind of constancy for you while you go through some sort of process of kind of pulling yourself beyond, a series and patterns of like woundedness, guardedness, skepticism, hurts, and kind of grievances of the past. There's an interest here in this person in whatever way that manifests, wanting to really be a support system for you as you step into a period of thriving in your own life. Wanting to go far beyond that, definitely into romantic territory, but something that they're understanding, that kind of, as much as the experience of you has already healed them very profoundly, as much as they are sensing or are aware that, there is healing that is kind of required within you. Healing in the sense of almost something that needs to just be let go of or cut away. It's not necessarily a building, it's almost just sort of defense mechanisms, walls and armor that's up, that they're sort of seeing that kind of shared wound between the two of you. It's almost like a mirror of your defense mechanisms within one another, and you've liberated this person by your sheer presence. And so they're wanting to really hold the line while you go through this process of kind of self-liberation, to be there on the other side of whatever this journey of transformation is for you, kind of finding and creating the medicine within your own wounding. There's a higher potential that they're seeing now in this situation. And even if it goes no further than where it's gone up to this point in time, they're really seeing this as a blessing. You are a blessing. This situation is a blessing. This is like a godsend. It's very sacred energy. You've changed everything very profoundly, and yet in a quiet way. This isn't loud change. This is, kind of the loudness of the chaos and destruction of what their life had looked like, or what love and kind of their relationship, even emotionally to themselves, had looked like prior to encountering you. This is the softness. This is kind of the whisper of creation, of sort of shifting, of surrender, of change that has taken place, where in a way it's almost, you've introduced or reintroduced this person to peace within themselves, and kind of this placid energy in what may have been a lot of sort of rage that they were holding on to within themselves. And it's something to where they're wanting to really be this kind of companion energy, sort of accompany you through a period of darkness, a period of kind of fighting your own resistance, understanding that there are aspects of you that need to be kind of unshouldered in order to be able to receive and reciprocate in a deeper way than what has been the case between the two of you up to this point in time, and in what they're intending for this situation moving forward. So I'm going to get a few more oracle cards, and then I'll get into some message cards from this person's higher self. So we have Amaterasu, the sun, good fortune, happiness. Witch, passion. And Athena, strategy, clarity, intellect. So this idea with the clarity and kind of this sight, or this higher sight, this person is seeing you almost as the one that they have been waiting for, this blessing, this kind of godsend energy. You've broken some kind of spell that was on this person's heart, maybe even something that they've kind of created for themselves, some sort of self-imposed blockage, or they may have really felt that sort of, there was negative energy upon them, there's bad juju upon them in their love life, and maybe that was the case, maybe that wasn't. It will be different for everyone, but it's almost like your sheer presence, you've broken through some sort of boundaries or barriers. You've helped this person to do that. You've accessed something that was almost kind of spellbound within them in terms of their heart. You've liberated them. You've freed them in a very profound way. And it's something which is having such a great impact. It's illuminating so much because it feels like for the vast majority of you, this is not a situation of two people who are, exchanging sweet nothings and they're now at this place of like, okay, I've fallen even deeper into love. But this is a circumstance where it's not even a romantic connection, and yet you've managed to liberate this person's heart space in a way that even kind of the sweetest beloved that they have had has not been able to kind of reach or access them on this level. And it's something that has not gone unnoticed by them. You represent a deep sense of joy, a deep sense of clarity. They're seeing that you have been the light in the darkness for them through a very difficult time, or again, are kind of in their darkest hour, when there was almost kind of like a plea from their heart they didn't even know was being kind of sent out into the universe. They've manifested you in, and this is something where that might have been very perplexing for them. How did I call somebody in a situation like this into my life when I was moving towards what I thought was a very different sort of horizon, based on a different sort of series of conditions, a closed energy, and instead now I find myself at this place of openness, and it feels to be something that they're understanding this very kind of like magical and rare quality about who you are, kind of the deeper importance of this connection, bigger possibilities that are on the other side of kind of this mutual journey of healing, a sense of, starting to really explore, or it feels like with this energy of what's been unlocked within the heart space, they're able to really tap into some sort of ancient wisdom within, like deep past life connection here, of the sense of almost kind of liberating one another from some sort of ancient entanglement and bonds, that it has taken the two of you a very long time to find one another again. You keep coming back together sort of lifetime after lifetime and kind of as the last resort, almost sort of when all hope is almost lost, and it's a sense of, are we going to be victorious in kind of the battle for love, winning over sort of, the defeat of fear. And they really do feel that you have changed so much for them in a very beautiful way. This is somebody who feels very renewed, a renewed sense of purpose, a renewed sense of understanding, a lot that's really coming into their clarity and into their mind as far as struggles that they have encountered before in their life, and again how there's kind of like medicine within the wound. This is a perspective they weren't able to have before, but thanks to their interactions with you, or the nature of your exchanges with one another, things you talk about, the way you kind of live your life, or you carry your own woundedness, your own kind of scars and guardedness, it's helping them to have kind of a deeper sense of compassion and appreciation for themselves, and what they have almost kind of needed to do in order to survive. And you've really introduced them to this energy of now you have the opportunity to thrive. And this is something which they are forever grateful for having crossed paths with you, but there's definitely this interest here in kind of building toward the future, holding space for you, holding the line for you, while you go through some element of your own kind of personal transformation to reach for that higher potential within, to gain some kind of clarity. Maybe some of you are like in the midst of a dark night of the soul, for example. You've helped this person through theirs, and now you're on the other end of that spectrum. You're traveling through your personal underworld at this particular point in time, and it's the type of thing where everybody can only help themselves in that capacity, but they're wanting to hold space for you to be there on the other side when you emerge or re-emerge or kind of rebirth yourself as the next version of you, because they're witnessing and seeing that you have represented that for them without meaning to, without kind of the energies of, I just love you so much that of course I'll be here, of course I'll hold the space, of course I'll kind of do whatever, because that's what people in love do. That it's a gift that has come in kind of this other package, and yet it has so much more value and meaning to them than even people who, promise the deepest love before, kind of what the change that has taken place, or what you've sort of helped them to birth or rebirth within themselves. It's a profound transformation that they didn't even think was possible. And so it's very much sort of compelled in your direction to help to be that safe space, as you kind of move through the process of coming into a place of personal safety in order to step more into your gentleness and less into the version of you that has kind of been required in order to survive what you've been through, or to kind of survive in the aftermath of experiences that were meant to kind of break you down, or harden your heart in some sort of way. They're wanting to really coax and help you beyond that into a place of where you're able to then thrive, and then the two of you can experience something deeper with one another further down the road. So let's see what they want to tell you from their higher self right now. They say no other compares to you. So they're definitely setting you apart from other experiences of love and partnership. And that may be something which it's kind of a stretch for them to sort of understand how this is possible, when again, it feels like for a lot of you, this is a situation that it hasn't even taken that sort of first step in the direction of, a romantic couple or people that are dating. And yet you carry so much significance to them. It's the person that they have been looking for that has arrived in the way in which they thought certainly love would not be coming into my life in this way, and from this direction. And they also say your beauty still moves me. So they are very much enamored with kind of the polarities of light and shadow within. How you hold your stoicism and vulnerability in a very artful balance. Everything about you is now kind of taking on a new nature and layer of appreciation. You've opened this person's heart, and they are now able to kind of see you from the lens of love, where before they may have been viewing you in the connection, or you in the potential in this situation, from kind of a standoffish sort of energy, a lot of resistance that may have been happening. This idea of sort of holding space for you to come to a place of letting your guard down, and kind of what was coming through as well with Dark Night of the Soul. This may have been something where kind of a situationship or a friendship, and it was almost this energy of, okay, we're going to take things to the next level in some sort of way. And this person may have like energetically rejected you, sort of pulled back or backed off, kind of rejected or rebuffed sort of this loving vibration you were trying to send their way. And this could have been something that really sort of caused you to plummet into your own kind of wounds of abandonment, wounds of rejection. of all of these sort of stinging energies within, putting up the wall, putting up the armor, putting the guard up. And in that space and distance, this feels to be something that there's been a breakthrough for them. That was not the reaction that they had sort of wanted out of this situation, off of what may have been kind of just a momentary kind of reaction on their part, but it's been a domino effect that it feels like in some way has kind of changed things within your dynamic. Now it's something where they're able to really see and appreciate you in a way that they hadn't before, because you've kind of pulled the veil away from something within that was kind of hidden, as far as their ability to love or to perceive love, or their willingness to understand that and to welcome that into their world and into their life. And so now it feels that these tables have turned, and so they're wanting to kind of hold that space for you as you move through this process of kind of rising and resurrecting yourself out of whatever you've been confronting as far as your own shadows, and with your relationship with yourself, or even just kind of like love and partnerships or interpersonal relationships in general. All of that they find so beautiful. Your willingness to kind of sit with that, the strength of how you carry your wounds, and yet you are still so loving and compassionate. This is something which draws them in and is unlike anyone they've known before. They also say, I just wasn't ready for you. Yeah, so this is something where, they were very guarded. There was a wall around their heart. There was a pessimism. They were not looking at love as a friendly energy, but rather kind of seeking to sort of keep it at bay, like it was an enemy or a foe, something to be mistrusted, something to be questioned or pushed away. And it feels like some mechanism to that degree has happened, most likely on just a subtle sort of level. There really weren't these indicators of like a major kind of fight or, like a major disagreement or anything that would have justified kind of an apology coming forth, but it almost feels to be something that just in a subtle energetic way they may have just kind of pushed away or backed away from what was building between the two of you in a way that you didn't seek to build this. It wasn't the intention that these things develop. And in the momentum that was built, the brakes might have been put on in a sense. You sort of plummeted away from the situation, and when you fell, you took with you this kind of bit of armor, this sort of guardedness around their heart, and they were able to finally see and feel and experience what love is, or what they had kind of closed themselves off to for quite some time. And now they're in this place of kind of when you're in this state of readiness, they're wanting to really, kind of make up for lost time. They've readied themselves. They are readying themselves. There's an interest in kind of, carrying this forth into some sort of next layer and level. They also say you're unlike anyone I've ever known before. So there's that confirmation of you. No one compares to you. You're this unexpected gift in their life, an unexpected gift from the divine. They did not expect to fall for you, to develop feelings for you. You may be very different from the usual type of person that they are attracted to, that they are used to having relationships with. It feels like some degree of personal strength and kind of fortitude is very unlike people that they've been dealing with, where they may have had kind of a glass is half empty attitude about life. You may have had, the glass is half full and it's limitless potential sort of attitude. And so it's really shown them a different kind of worldview, that not only has this changed their ideas about what's possible in love, but it also feels to be something where the experience of you, this is something which has helped to sort of widen their perspective on the life that they're living. Doors that they thought were forever closed, or a direction that they were headed in that is now kind of been course corrected in a profound manner. They also say, I'm struggling to find the right words. So kind of where you go from here, this is definitely heavily on their mind. They're not wanting to startle you or spook you or cause you to sort of put your guard up or your wall up or your defenses up any more than they may already perceive that they are. There is a yearning here to give you some kind of words of wisdom, words of encouragement, to be that shoulder to cry on in the same way that you have been that for them. There are feelings that are held and hidden within that they are wanting to bring into the light of day. But it's an element of kind of these floodgates have now been opened within their heart, and it's such a big energy. It's something that's been locked away within for so long, that to find the words to even just start very simply at square one between the two of you, compared to kind of the intensity of what they are now sort of able to access within themselves. This is sort of the challenge at this point. So as you're almost maybe pulling yourself up out of some darkened energy, or working to kind of bring your own sort of walls down, anything that's been triggered or is kind of boomeranged off this process with this person, they are also kind of coming into a place of feeling deeply within that heart space and finding ways to sort of simplify that, make it clear, to where there can be logical first steps going forward with the two of you. They also say, I am learning to heal and soothe myself. So this may be something that you have taught them about, the idea of medicine existing within the wounds, parts of themselves that they had been running from, had been fearful of confronting, or are now forced to confront. Here are these big feelings that they are looking at within themselves, and you've awakened this. These have stirred to life, and they are, because of you, they are directed towards you. They have your name on them. And yet, how have you both gotten to this place where now there's kind of, the tables have turned in some sort of manner, or they're needing to almost kind of hold space for you when you may have really been the one holding space for them for quite some time. So it's a process of both of you, it feels like, on this sort of layer of your personal journeys of like healing and ascending beyond some things. And it's definitely with the intent of kind of carrying things forth, exploring something more between the two of you. And for a lot of you, this is somebody who's in the process of kind of readying themselves, or sort of waiting for the right time to express to you, speak this truth that has weighed very heavily between you, to really put themselves out there and finally open their heart, and to express and bring out in a material sense, verbally, these feelings and this love and this deep intensity that they feel for you, and to start to make plans as far as what to do next, where to go from here, get the final answer, or the clarity that it feels like is lacking in this situation. Are these feelings mutual? Do you both sort of feel this intensity and this vibe for one another? And if so, what are you going to do about it? So these initials can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got N, U, I, R, D, S, A, L, X, Y, I, U, D, E, H, J, M, R, and C. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers, if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.